This meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10-4-6 et sec, notice which was sent to the record in Star Ledger and was posted on the municipal bulletin board. Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act and recent regulations issued by the state of New Jersey, the following procedures will be in effect for public comment during this remote public meeting of the City Council. The public shall have an opportunity to comment during the designated public portion of the meeting. The time period for the public comment is limited to 3 minutes for each speaker. No person may address the council more than once except for speaking during an advertised public hearing for an ordinance. At the time designated for public comment, the mayor and other presiding officer of the council will recognize one speaker at a time. The speaker must identify himself or herself by full name and whether or not he or she resides in Hackensack. No other member of the public is permitted to speak unless recognized by the presiding officer, and other remote attendees may be muted during that time if necessary to eliminate background noise. Meeting attendees shall exhibit appropriate demeanor during this meeting as required by Section 3715 of the City Code. In the event any member of the public becomes disruptive at any time, the individual may be muted by the presiding officer and will receive a warning that continued disruption may result in being prevented from speaking or removed from the meeting entirely. The Zoom meeting platform has a texting function. However, this is to be used only for the purpose of advertising the city's IT staff of any technical concerns or issues. The public may also submit written public comments to be audibly read into the record by the city clerk during the public portion of any remote public meeting of the City Council. Comments can be submitted by regular mail or by email to acb@hackensack.org. Comments received less than 5 hours before the start of the meeting may be carried to the next meeting. Any person who actually speaks during the public comment portion of the remote public meeting may not also have a comment read into the record. The city clerk will stop reading a written comment into the public record once it reaches the 3-minute limit. Duplicate written comments may be summarized and noted for the record in a consistent manner.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Sims.
Here.
Councilman Battaglia.
Here.
And Mayor LaBrosse.
Here. Would everybody please rise for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the
flag
of
the
United States of America and to the republic
for
which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
you. Okay, there are no proclamations or presentations. There's no approval of any minutes, so we'll go right to the city manager.
Mayor, the only thing, this is a special meeting for stormwater. I'd like to introduce Steve Kleiman, our attorney, who has basically directed this to be approved in a timely fashion. Steve?
Yes, good afternoon, and thanks for everybody showing up today. And I have Aaron Abilene from Suburban Engineering, who's going to talk very briefly about the technical details of this ordinance. But the bottom line is that the state of New Jersey adopted new regulations governing stormwater management in 2020. And our ordinance, according to the DEP, needs to be updated to reflect those changes. Our stormwater management ordinance was last revised in 2006. So essentially, with these new regulations that are going to be enforced, it's currently obsolete. The DEP has directed that we accomplish this by, I believe, March 3rd. And the ordinance, it's the 35-page, it's quite a lengthy ordinance, was not ready for the last meeting. And as such, the only way to get it accomplished in time is to have this done via special meeting. Now, obviously, there'll be a public hearing, at which time there will be, further discussion and any further detailed questions from the public can be discussed and answered. This is only a first reading. I will note, after we vote to introduce this, hopefully, because of the meeting schedule and the advertisement schedule, we will need to have a second special meeting to adopt it before the deadline. I believe with the advertising, by the time it gets in the paper, we will have to do that on Monday, March 1st or Tuesday, March 2nd, and the council can advise if they have a preference on those dates, and then the city clerk can advertise the public hearing and adoption of this at a second special meeting. So unfortunately, we just can't make it work with the time frame by the time it got through engineering review and got into legal review. So that's the basic procedural background of why we're doing this. And very briefly, I'm going to have Erin just kind of give you some of the details of what this ordinance is and what it's designed to accomplish. So Erin, I would turn it over to you.
Sure. So the main goal of the new DEP regulations is to protect water quality and remove a lot of subjectivity that was in the previous regulations. So previously you'd fill out like a checklist and there was no actual thresholds or goals to be achieved. So you weren't really getting the goals the DEP set out for. There's two main things I think you should be aware of that this ordinance achieves. The first is for applicants to use green infrastructure. So any major development requires that green infrastructure is used to meet groundwater recharge, stormwater quality, and stormwater quantity, so the amount of runoff. Green infrastructure pretty much just means you're going to keep it on your site. So you're going to infiltrate it. It's going to be shallow or deep infiltration on site. It promotes the site to act like a natural site. The other main point was to address aggregate development. So you guys probably are familiar with this. It's one of New Jersey's biggest problems, I would say. A site that is slowly developed over time. This type of development and the misinterpretation, I would say, or the gray area of the previous rules allowed people to skirt being considered a major development. And so now the rules pretty much don't allow that. So you look at your site as a whole since 2004. If you've disturbed more than 1 acre or you've created a 1/4 acre or more of impervious surface, you're a major development. So those are the two main things I think you guys should be aware of. There's obviously a lot within the ordinance. Like Steve said, it's quite lengthy, but those are really the goals they're trying to achieve. All align with Hackensack's goals as part of their long-term control plan and other goals. So I think it is pretty straightforward there.
Okay. Any questions from the council? No? Okay. I guess we move on to Deb, or to Ally, sorry.
Okay, resolution 6821 is introduction of ordinance 8/2021, an ordinance to amend chapter 141 of the code of the city of Hackensack, sewage disposal systems individual, to comprehensively revise article 8, stormwater control, to reflect mandates by the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection.
Okay, need a motion to introduce the ordinance, please.
Offer.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims.
Aye.
Councilman Battaglia.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Okay. Be it resolved that the above ordinance, being ordinance 8/2021, as introduced, does now pass on first reading, and that said ordinance shall be considered for final passage at a meeting to be held on March 1st or 2nd, 2021, or as soon thereafter, as the matter can be reached at the regular meeting place of the city council at such time and place that all persons interested be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance, and that the city clerk be and she is hereby authorized and directed to publish said ordinance according to law with a notice of its introduction and passage on first reading of the time and place when and where said ordinance will be further considered for final passage.
So with that being said, everyone, in order to advertise this, we do need to have the date of the public hearing established. So would everybody be comfortable with doing this again, March 2nd at 3 p.m. So that's another, again, on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Would that be acceptable to, at least the vast majority of everybody?
I'm good.
I am good.
What was the date?
We were thinking we would do it on March 2nd, again, a Tuesday at 3 p.m.
Okay.
I'm good till 3:15 at least.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it should be, there will be a public hearing. If there are speakers, it could run a little bit past then. Certainly we don't need 5 to, if you've got to jump, we don't need 5 to adopt it if for whatever reason, as long as we've got 4 in place, if you have to go, that would be okay. You comfortable with that, Dave?
I'm good.
Okay. then that's what we'll do is we will schedule this for Tuesday, March 2nd at 3:00 p.m. for the public hearing and final adoption of this ordinance.
Okay, very good.
Now, we do have to have a public session. 3 minutes if anyone from the public is on this phone call and wants to speak. We do have to recognize them, and then that would be the only other order of business for today.
Okay, we need a motion to open to the public, please.
Offer.
Second,
Roll call.
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims,
aye.
Councilman Pataglia,
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Anybody from the public, please, who would like to speak, please unmute your device, give your name and your town of residence, and you will have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, Mayor. This is Anita Rivers. I'm a resident of Hackensack on Railroad Place. I'm very happy to hear about this ordinance. It sounds like our backs are against the wall. This was a regulation that was passed in 2020, according to Steve's presentation. But my question to you is, what as a resident should I look forward to, or what can I expect as a result of these upgrades? Because my area is gravely impacted by stormwater and sewer issues. And so I'm really looking forward to some relief.
Okay.
But Mayor, before I jump in, so Ms. Rivers, there will be a public hearing on this on the 2nd, as we announced at 3:00, at which time, I would expect to have Erin available to answer questions more generally from the public. I am trying to limit the council's discussion of this today.
I can appreciate
because of the
that,
nature
Steve,
of the fact it's a special meeting.
but
I'm
typically
happy
I'm
to
at
talk.
work. Yeah, typically I'm at work at this time, and it just so happened that I took the day off. So I
Yeah.
thought it was important that I attend. I'm not sure whether I'll be able to even attend on the 2nd at 3:00, but I appreciate any discussion. Thank you.
Well, briefly, Erin, are you still on?
Yeah, I'm still here.
I mean, can you very, very briefly, answer her question to
Sure.
some extent?
Yeah. Like I said, the main impact here that you're going to see is when people recreate a natural condition, when they infiltrate on their site, that's less runoff. It's cleaner runoff to the river and to the rest of the city. So if water's going in the ground, I know you're in an area that surcharges frequently. We're going to be looking to achieve that goal. Does that help answer your questions?
So far, so good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Also, Anita, I might mention, feel free to write in. You can
Yes.
email a question in for that meeting, and it will be read and will be answered by the council.
Okay, thank you. I will.
In case you're not available, hopefully you're available. We'd love to hear from you. So, all right. Thank you. Next person.
Hi, this is Reverend Davis. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I also have the same situation that Ms. Rivers has, and hopefully what I am understanding, this should continue. What has been so far, our block has been pretty good when it comes to flooding. So I hope this is also going to continue to decrease that effort and will not be sewer water, if I'm understanding correctly. I did send, maybe this is not the right meeting, but I did send to the city manager, and I hope he got it, a list of people who were concerned, just to let everyone know that this was a major concern. There are about 2 pages of names of people from James Street, Stanley Place, that all have this as an issue. Thank you.
Thank you. And if I could just mention this, we're also doing work in that area of increasing the stormwater runoff and rerunning it and rerouting it. That's going to help tremendously with that area, which Erin gave a presentation 2 weeks ago, I guess, about a week and a half ago on this, or it might have been last week, actually. But that's.
Reverend Davis, I did get the petition and I took notice of it, and I've had further discussion with Suburban Engineering. As we explained, I think it was almost 2 years ago, the city council is committed to doing something about the drainage and the stormwater issues that we have. And fortunately, in my belief, Suburban Engineering has stepped up to the plate and is working on solutions of isolating sections that did flood that are going to need additional, and also the ability to use gravity on areas that we can connect to pipes to make this work. The city is looking, and this has been discussed in the past, major overhauls at a sizable dollar amount. Suburban Engineering's going to get grant funding so we can continue this process. But there's a full-blown commitment to doing something about the drainage, the stormwater, and the sewer and water separation that we've had this problem, which we have to solve within the next 20 years. And quite candidly, we're chugging along. Is it perfect? No, but we certainly are making strides. And I just wanted you to know that that includes the whole process along Railroad Avenue, which, because of the railroad tracks are elevated, creates almost like a soup bowl that holds the water in there. So Suburban Engineering is now moving sections of this so we can remove the drainage for that. And obviously there's a discussion at some point to put a pump station in our lowest elevation to get this water back into the river and get it out of people's basements and off our roads.
Thanks, Ted. I appreciate that. And I said I have noticed a difference just recently, you know, that we haven't had that flooding. So I sent that petition in just to show you that it wasn't just my concern, or, you know, it was a major concern, that people are concerned about it. So I'm glad that we have the report that we have. We haven't had the major issues that we have had, and hope that will continue that way. Thank you.
We are committed.
If I may just comment once again, I'm just a few blocks away from Reverend Davis, and I thank you so much for Ted. But if there's anything in addition that I can assist with, Aaron, if you'd like to come and take a look at my sump pumps, I have multiple sump pumps and issues that I'm facing even today because of the massive amount of snow and water runoff. Please, I'm certainly willing to open up my home for you to take a look.
And what was the address of your property, ma'am?
I'm at 259 Railroad Place in Hackensack. I'm right across the street from the railroad track.
Okay, I will certainly carry that information. There's another engineer that's also involved in this, Michael, and we'll bring that to his attention.
If I may add to Ms. Rivers and Ms. Davis, you know, the sewer separation work on Main Street is now finally done. And working on the path of getting extra water, diverting it and getting it in another path is our primary focus right now. And we're calling that the Clay Street area. So you may hear us start talking about it. So just, you know, for your information, this is where we are right now. So right now, our primary focus is on that particular area. And then eventually our next step is to look at the Green Street area as well. So right now, what our plans are for the upcoming year, and, you know, actually from this point forward, is working on how we're going to alleviate some of those issues in that particular area. And I think that will be helpful to both of you and your neighbors at that location.
Thank you so much. That's great. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next person from the public, please. Please give your name to the clerk.
Yes, this is Bridget Rucker speaking. I'm on Stanley Place as well as Reverend Davis. I did speak to Michael about the actual impact here, but I also wanted to know, I know it's being done in phases. I just heard Ms. Catastrino speak about Clay Street. So as these phases are happening, what is the timely manner about the phases? Because I know Michael did say that this was all done in phases, and there are different phases that will be happening as far as the hydraulic areas and so on and so forth. So I'm just trying to figure out, when will the phases happen from Passaic Street to Stanley to Berry to James, you know, and so forth.
Aaron, I'll defer to you.
Yep. So the phasing is actually due to the permits we need down near the river. So that's why we need to phase this project. But the city is committed to, once receiving that permit, we're going to get up into that area. The first phase of the project we've talked about that I presented on is going to go from Main Street up to about Union, maybe Park Street. And that phase of the project doesn't need the permits for the outfall downstream. That should be out to bid in April. And once we get that other permit, it is the intent to go out to bid for the rest of the project. So you should be seeing this work very soon.
Thank you.
Next person from the public, please.
Hi, this is Josh Cohen from Hackensack.
Sir?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Hi, I just want to say I'm really pleased to hear the city's moving forward with the sewer improvements. Ms. Davis, I'm in the Fairmount section. I'm happy to also sign any petitions that you have related to sewer improvements. I think the council's aware that we have our own issues in the Fairmount section, and I'm a little concerned that I haven't heard about any improvements from Suburban or from any presentations from the council regarding the Anderson Street pump station.
Aaron, any comments on that?
Yeah, this area, just so everyone's aware, when we talk about Clay Street and the adjacent area, that's where the split is between your pump stations. Any improvements up in this area where we're directing stormwater directly to the river is improving the entire combined sewer drainage area, Anderson and Court Street. So it's hard to convey without getting into a lot of technical detail during the council presentations, but I do think it's important for you to understand that any stormwater we remove from the Clay Street area is going to have a positive impact throughout the entire drainage area. It's going to vary, right, for which area is impacted the most. These improvements are really going to focus on the bowl, like Ted described, where the rails, both at Railroad Ave and then the one over near the high school as well, and how they create this bowl here. That's a main point of focus, but it will improve both drainage areas.
So right now, Aaron, would be correct in saying that, when the underground system fills up, it backs up through all different areas of the city, even though it may be a mile or so away. Is that correct?
Correct. So one of the things we've talked about is how the city's main combined sewer infrastructure runs parallel with the river. And that's one of the issues you have. So it runs through all these low areas, and once it backs up, it surcharges everywhere. So what we're doing is this culvert that we keep talking about for stormwater is coming straight up from the river up into these low-lying areas. So it's going to Clay Street, it's going to relieve Green Street, it's going to relieve the Anderson pump station. So it's providing relief by just cutting out a substantial amount of stormwater flow from all of these areas.
Could you just, for those who may not know what the term means, and I'm sure most people do, but some people don't, what surcharge means?
Yeah, surcharge. So we use the word surcharge instead of flooding in combined sewer areas, but it pretty much means that there's no capacity to get it out to its final destination, whether that's the BCUA, Bergen County Utility Authority main sewer pipe, or if we're having a overflow scenario to the river, it starts backing up into the low-lying areas. So once that pipe's filled, the lowest areas of the city are going to see flooding or surcharge conditions first. That's what I'm referring to.
And also, I know one of the issues we had before was the malfunction of backflow preventers down by the river. And that is also being taken care of, I believe.
Yeah, there's a series of projects that are ongoing that all contribute towards the city's commitment towards a long-term control plan and addressing these areas.
So here's what happens. The big part of the city is basically a bowl. A lot of it is created by the railroad, which runs straight through the middle of our city. Even down, I would say not Grand Avenue, Linden Street, for instance, would be the end of that bowl. It'd be the equivalent of Railroad Avenue on the other side of Passaic Street. What's happening is and it's sometimes we get that perfect storm where you have a full moon, you have a high tide coming in, and a big storm all at the same time. And it's very hard to, I've seen water coming up out of manhole covers when it's not even raining that hard because the high tide and the full moon. So this is going to allow, it's going to alleviate a lot of that situation throughout the city. And this is one of the problems. Living on a tidal river, creates a lot of headaches, but the backflow prevention will be key. And also rerouting of this water, adding additional ways to get it to the river is our goal here.
Can I say something? One of the things that we did in Fushini Park to alleviate the flooding is that we installed a 42 inches flat valve, and that is controlling a lot the area of Fushini Park. Does anybody see it now? Before, Fushini Park was like a lake, but now with that particular valve, it's doing really good.
Right now, Aaron, we're adding, I think, retention boxes as well.
Yeah, so these culverts, I call them culverts. They're really just large pipes, right? These are rectangular pipes. They're used for conveyance in your smaller storms, but in your larger storm events, they're linear storage. They're very, we have a very lengthy run to get from Clay Street to the river. So that's all storage that we'll use as well. That will allow us the capacity until we can get the water out to the river and we could evacuate it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else, Mr. Cohen? Hearing none. Next person, please.
I'm sorry. I just have one more comment. I hear a lot about overflowing to the river. Aaron, I watched a lot of your presentations recently. They're made available online, but I don't hear any talk about sewage overflows into residents' basements, which is something that I deal with. And so I think your presentations and the impact that you're having on the community could be more strongly communicated if we start talking about that a little more.
Okay. Aaron, any comment?
No, it's a point. The licensed operator who also works for Suburban deals with this very frequently. I know his name was brought up previously, Michael McAloon. So if you are having those issues, I suggest you reach out. There are suggestions the city have for the residents to address that. So though that is, I understand that that's an issue and it's something impacting quite a few people. That's not part of what I'm trying to present as the overall fix. But I do appreciate that, and that should be something that's brought up to the licensed operator. See if you can get some relief.
Yeah, I've talked to Mr. McAloon a few times, so we've been in touch. But I mean, this is a big health issue when you have raw sewage coming into basements. So I just think your presentations could be stronger, more impactful if we talked about that a little more.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Next person, please. Hearing nobody from the public, motion to close.
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. Any comments from the council before we end the meeting?
No.
I'm just going to say this real quick. I know there's a protocol and a rule of, law on how to run the meetings, but it's very hard when we're on Zoom. Usually there's only one shot. You get your 3 minutes and that's it. It was mentioned by the clerk or deputy clerk as she read the meeting rules before. But it's very hard to control, and we're not here to stifle anybody, that's for sure. But I just ask the public that's speaking, if they're still here, to try to get everything in one time, because we try to avoid the back and forth, and we try to stay by the rules. Because what will happen is, because I can't see you and you start talking right away, I don't want to just jump in and say you're done. When Miss Rivers came back on for a second time, technically in the regular council meeting, that wouldn't happen. But in a Zoom atmosphere, it's kind of hard to control. We're not trying to be rude. We're just trying to stick to the rules. So I just ask that the public, if they're still here, just keep that in mind. So thank you. I need a motion to close the meeting, please.
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks for coming, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you.